All right. Another Nerdy Virgin podcast. I missed last week. Sorry, I started to do it and I just didn't feel like it, which is not a good reason to not do it. I know. But we're doing it today. I'm out for a walk. It's only 9,800 degrees. And I think that's why my energy is zapped today. But at any rate, I'm trying to figure out what to do with this thing because on the one hand, I probably should have a guest on this. But on the other hand, I just, I don't want to ask someone to do my podcast. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that, and I don't want to disparage the people who do have guests on podcasts, but I just don't want to be. People have asked me to be on their podcasts, and I'll be honest with you, in many cases, I didn't want to do it, and there's nothing against them. I didn't want to take the hour out of my day to go, do their thing. So now I'm saying to myself, well, I don't want to ask someone else to be on my thing because I don't want to put them in that situation where they feel like, I don't want to do it, even though there are probably people out there who may want to do it. And there are also people out there who don't want to do it, but are okay with saying, I don't want to do it. So I am making my decision to not ask people to do the podcast based on projecting how I think they're going to respond to me asking, based on how I would respond if they asked. So I'm living in my own little world here, playing by my own little rules, and it has nothing to do with real life. That's fun. But loosely, I think, what I keep finding, what seems to be working, is when I let myself be vulnerable, it seems to go better on stage. So I'm trying to apply that to this and be vulnerable here. All right, so what am I being vulnerable about today? I'm struggling with the depression this week. Depression, anxiety. I know I keep harping on this. It's the same thing, but I'm just, I'm not where I want to be in life. I say this every podcast. Ultimately, I'm not where I want to be. And then, but one thing that helped me today was I actually sat down and I wrote, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to be doing? And I wrote down the list of all the things I want to be doing, and it dawned on me that I can do all of that now. I keep waiting for someone to give me permission to do these things, or I keep waiting to be told you are good enough to do these things. And I'm realizing I can just do this. So I got to get out of my own way. That's the problem. I got to get out of my own way and make a schedule and do the things I want to do. And maybe if I do the things I want to do, maybe then things will look up a little bit, insofar as that's possible, insofar as anything could look up in this day and age. But I find that every time I just make the list of, okay, these are my goals, like one of them, I would like to sell a screenplay. I've had that goal for a long time. And what I'm realizing is, I think all I want to write it, I want to sell it, and then someone else does something with it. And I go on with my life. That's really what I'd like to do. Now, the first step is writing the screenplay. It's hard to sell something that you don't have. And I just need to figure out what I want to write and do that. I just need to sit down and do it. Like I think so much of my life is overthinking. I'm always being told that I'm overthinking. I've got to stop overthinking. I just got to take action. Stop overthinking and take action. Just record the podcast. Who cares what's on it? It's content. What will the screenplay be about, you ask? I don't know. Here's where I overthink it. Then I start thinking, well, there's what I want to write, and then there's what's marketable. So let's create some. Let's do this. Let's say I write whatever I want to write. The number one rule is it should be what I want to write, and then try to sell it to somebody. So no, trying to write something that's, cost effective or something that people may like. Just write whatever I want to write. Write the movie that I want to see. And then sell that. Oh, it's the kind of movie that I want to see. I think it's got to be in space. I want to see something in space. Or a comedy. And the comedy doesn't necessarily have to be in space. The comedy, maybe a parody. I'm not sure. I'll work it out. I don't want to get into the finer points with you here. This is not about that. This should be about being vulnerable. As you can tell, I'm walking uphill at a moderate pace, which for me is the equivalent of running a marathon. I also, I've been eating a lot of kiwis lately. I had them at the club. I don't know why they ordered them. I think they were trying something new. It didn't work out. I gotta say, I enjoy the kiwi. It's good. It's healthy, right? It has vitamin something. Not very vulnerable to talk about a kiwi. Get to it, Josh. What's the vulnerability? What's the vulnerability that I need to be talking about? I think what I struggle with is when I get somebody says something or something happens and I get very frustrated, and it's usually a perceived injustice. Something is done to me or something happens where I feel like I'm not treated right, or I feel like I'm not understood or listened to, and I get very upset, and I kind of stay in that place. My head just keeps spinning. I tend to start doing, the show Designing Women? The one character on Designing Women who's always making the speeches. Dixie Carter played her. I make righteous speeches in my head that I end up never saying to people. Almost never. Lately I'm starting to actually say them more, which is good. But I'll just do it over and over again, and I'll get into this rhythm of just resentment. That's what makes me more tired than anything. Just feeling resentful. And not being able to let things go. And I get into that headspace, and it lasts. It's like a storm. It'll last for, days sometimes. And the only way out of it, usually, is talking to someone about it. Which I really hate doing because I hate talking about it with people anymore. Because I am what's called an energy vampire. I turn everyone I'm with into my therapist. And that I feel a lot of shame with that. Kind of like what's happening with this podcast. But the beauty of it is that if you're listening at this point, you can turn it off. If you're still listening, that's impressive. But I don't have to feel the guilt that I would feel, trapping somebody when talking. Go to a therapist, you say. I've done the therapy, and I feel like I go in circles. I don't really fix the underlying problem. Because I really think at the end of the day, the only thing that ever makes sense to me is Buddhism, which is that I just have to be present with what's going on and just be present with it, and gradually I let go. I already know what I need to do. I'm choosing not to do it. That's really the problem. So there must be comfort or even enjoyment in being miserable, which other people have told me. You enjoy being miserable. And I kind of see it. I think it's not so much that I enjoy it. I think I enjoy the control of it. I enjoy the control of it. If I can make myself miserable before anyone else can, at least I'm in control. That's some food for thought for you. So, what remains now is, I guess, learning to let it go, or not even trying to let it go, just saying, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I think that's the first step is I kind of got to go, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm spiraling into a depression right now. You aware of that? Yep, I'm aware. Okay, good. Just making sure. Making sure, letting everyone know that's what I'm doing. Hey, you're throwing in some self-sabotaging thoughts while good things are happening to you. You aware of that? Yep, I'm aware. Thanks. Thanks for the update. You're having a great set, and now you're in your head watching yourself having a great set on stage, and now you're questioning whether or not it really is great, or you're not even that, you're paying too much attention to it and throwing yourself off deliberately because you think on some unconscious level you don't deserve to feel joy. You aware of that? Yep, I'm got it. Noting it down. What time would that happen? 5:35 p.m. Got it. Wrote that down. Thank you. Keeping track of it. All right, so now I'm heading back down the hill. I got to the top of the hill. Well, I didn't get to the top of the hill. I got to where I usually stop, and now I'm turning back around. Okay. So, I think the first part of this podcast is going to be me being vulnerable. There you go. Take it or leave it. And now we gotta spin a tale. We gotta do a sci-fi story. So, well, first of all, we should do some transition music. Transition music, transition music, transition music, transition music. All right, so now a story. I think it's a Mad Max kind of dystopian world story. That's what I'm feeling this time. Definitely. Oh, isn't that what I did last time? I think that is what I did last time. Okay, scratch that. We gotta be in space. Let's do one in space. We're in space. We're on a ship. It's not a pretty ship. It's an ugly. It's a ship that you would see in the universe of Aliens. Ugly ship. Very dirty. It's a dirty ship. Hasn't been cleaned. No cleaning service on this ship. Asymmetrical. Pieces on the side of the ship. You don't know why they're there. Looks very complicated. Ship is en route to Mars. And in this future world, or this future universe we're concocting, let's say it's 500 years in the future. Here's the thing about Mars. It's fine. It's kind of become the suburbs. Mars is 75% condominiums. And the ship's headed to Mars. It's delivering, I don't know, does it matter? Non-combustible, self-sealing stem bolts. That right there, what I just said that's an Easter egg. That's a Star Trek Deep Space Nine Easter egg right there. It's delivering some stem bolts. Self-sealing. to Mars. Having a lot of problems with the condominiums not being able to seal. There's 2 people on the ship. There's Craig and there's Chris. How do they feel about each other? They're never going to say. I mean, you think that 500 years from now the human race might be more emotionally advanced. No. The same morons they are today, just with somehow more advanced technology. Chris is monitoring the instruments, and he notices there's a blip. And Chris says, "Hey, there's a blip." And Craig says, "All right." Chris says, "No, I think there's a procedure we have to follow when there's a blip." And Craig says, "I don't know." Chris says, "So I'm gonna have to be the one to look it up?" And Craig says, I don't know." Chris is like, "See, you're so non-committal. I'll look it up." All right, I'm looking it up. And, oh yeah, as I thought, if there's a blip, we have to investigate the blip. Craig, do you want to add in? Do you want to thoughts on this? Yeah, it says we got to do it. We got to do it. Thanks, Craig. Thanks for the vote of support. All right, well, let's change course and look at the blip. They change course. Takes about 30 minutes. They reach the location of the blip, and it is a saucer, a silver saucer. It looks exactly like the kind of flying saucer that you would see in a 1950s B-movie science fiction film. Right there. And Chris says, "Craig, can you run a scan?" Craig says, "Yeah, all right." And Chris says, "What's the result of your scan?" Craig says, "It doesn't know." What do you mean it doesn't know? It says unknown. All right. What do we? I guess we should. You think this is aliens? Craig says, "No clue." And Chris says, "Do you feel anything? I mean, do you? Like right now, I'm feeling an enormous amount of fear, enormous amount of insecurity. I mean, is it that you feel these things, but you just hide it under a wall of indifference? What's going on?" Craig says, "I don't know. I don't feel fear. It just is what it is." Oh, God, I hate that phrase. I hate that phrase. Don't say that phrase again. Well, what do you want to do? Well, we got to hail it. All right, let's hail it. They hail the ship. They listen for the frequency. They hear a voice on the other end. "Hi. Hello. I'm Chris. This is Greg. We're here in the ship. Who are you?" "Glorg." "Your name is Glorg?" "Yeah, Glorg." Are you? All right. This might be a dumb question, but you have to understand before I ask you this question that both Craig and I we're not heroic, adventurous explorers. Like, this is a minimum wage job. We're just ferrying stem bolts, okay? So, nor are either of us learned. Craig's like, "Hey, I'm learned." Chris says, "Trust me, we're not in the category of learned. All right, if you were learned, you wouldn't be here right now." Chris was like, that's a little hurtful." I'm sorry, Craig said that's a little hurtful. Mixing up my Chris's and my Craigs. And Chris says, "Oh, this is now you finally have an emotion, and it's because I don't think you're learned." Craig says, "Yeah, I think that's, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover." All right, well, I'm sorry for saying that you're not learned. Since you are learned, do you want to take over? No, see, silence. Okay, great, perfect, great. The beginning of wisdom is silence, Craig says. Thank you, Craig, thank you. All right, anyway, look. Was it Gorp? It was Glarp. No, it wasn't Glarp. I could have sworn it was Gorp. Glarp. All right, Glarp. Are you an alien? Is that what we're dealing with? In all likelihood, you're probably just a human and you built this alien-looking ship, right? Is that what's going on? No, we're aliens. You are aliens, yeah. Okay, you Glarp are an alien. It's Glack. Glack? No, you just said it was Glarp. Yeah, our names are changing all the time. That's how our culture works. Our names change constantly. Wow, really? Yeah, it's really awful, actually. Why do you do that? I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, well, we're called human beings. What are you called? The name's changing all the time. It wouldn't matter if I told you it's going to change in 5 minutes. Right now we're the Black Garblums, but it just changed again. What are we? We're the Narf Riedels now. How are you guys able to function? Yeah, we were about to ask you the same question because only 2 arms? That's it? That's not enough. Yeah, tell me about it. How long have you known about the human race? Well, this is the first we're hearing of it. We accidentally stumbled on you. It was a mistake. We meant to go to a different galaxy where they have universal health care, and we ended up here. I gotcha. Well, what do you look like? Well, each one of us has 20 arms and 30 legs. And, we don't know how to do our taxes either. Huh, okay. I'm sorry, I guess I expected that you all would be more superior. Yeah, I know. We were kind of hoping the same from you, frankly. So you don't know about God or anything? No clue. No clue about God. Nothing. No idea. We're in the dark. Well, how much of human culture have you studied so far? We've got up to about mid-20th century. That's where we're at. Sound of Music. That was neat. That was neat. Okay, well, what? I just feel like you shouldn't be talking to us. Like we should transfer you to members of our species who are. I have to be very careful as I say this. Members of our species who are even more learned than we are. Is that all right, Craig? Is that fine? Yeah, maybe you should. Frankly, we don't feel like we should be representing our species either. We're above average, but we're not necessarily the pinnacle of our species. Right. Well, what do you want to do? Why don't we do this? Because if we try to report what we saw to our superiors, they're not going to be interested in you. And if you report what you saw to your superiors, they're probably not going to believe you. So it's really lose-lose all the way. Why don't we just all agree that this never happened? And hopefully the next time one of your species meets one of our species, it's people who are qualified. And I know Craig's listening. Not to say that you're not learned. How do we feel about that? God, that sounds great. All right, well, perfect. This was great, and I say this from the bottom of my heart without being disrespectful. I hope we never meet again. Oh, right back at you. And with that, the flying saucer flies off, and Chris turns to Craig, and he says, you okay never talking about this? And Craig says, talking about what? All right. Well, for the first, at least we're on the same page on this. All right, back to Mars. You think they have that? Do you think the mall opened yet? The new mall on Mars? Do you think they have the Orange Julius yet? I could go for an Orange Julius after this. This was somehow not at all surprising that this is how first contact would be. Not at all surprising.